Have a brief catch up on this. FoodSHIFT 2030 is EU Horizon 2020 Innovation Action Project. It's coordinated by the University of Copenhagen, and it's what you can call a real multi-stakeholder project, meaning that we have 7 municipalities and local governments, 7 NGOs, 9 small and medium enterprises, and then we have 7 universities and research institutes. So this is a nice picture taken from February last year, where we all met in Copenhagen for the kickoff meeting. So this today is, you could say, the same. It's an online version, and it's a kickoff meeting for the fellow city regions in the FoodSHIFT 2030 project. And just to put it in a bigger context, you can say that the FoodSHIFT project is actually a part of a larger project family, now called the Food 2030 project family, that is composed also of our sister project, FoodE, that started at the same time, roughly as us. And then also the 3 project Food Trails, FoodSHIFT, and Cities 2030. So FoodSHIFT and FoodE is focusing mostly on citizens, and then the latter 3 projects are focusing on cities. But common for all these projects is that they have living labs all across Europe. And here you can see a map provided by Food Trails showing all the labs that we have in Europe. That is before today, because we can now add as much as actually 33 additional labs for the FoodSHIFT project. So, and going back to the FoodSHIFT project, the objectives of the FoodSHIFT project is really to transform the European food system towards a low carbon, circular, and more plant-based future. And we are doing this by utilizing, supporting the transformative power of citizens that are already engaged in developing sustainable, innovative food system solutions in European city regions. So we are focusing a lot on citizen empowerment. We would like to empower citizens to both make the best decisions for their own food consumption, but also to influence the way the food is produced, distributed, and consumed in the whole city region. Engage also in innovation. So that's the second approach here. We are working on open innovation in living labs, and that is exactly what the FoodSHIFT Accelerator Labs, and now also you as the fellow city regions will work on. And when we talk about citizen-driven innovation, we are looking at really as food systems, as citizen-driven food systems that are considered as models for a democracy of space, people, and knowledge that will ensure also transparency and control over food security, safety, and quality. And we need to shift, you could say, the general mindset from a consumer mindset to a citizen mindset, so that we are unlocking our ability to influence and steer the food system towards one that is both fair and resilient for all, and also for the people and animals of the planet. And we are doing this in the FoodSHIFT project by applying this mechanisms to accelerate food system innovations by maturing, combining, upscaling, multiplying them. And this is then happening in the 9 FoodSHIFT Accelerator Labs, and then in the planned 27, but actually now 33 FoodSHIFT Enabler Labs. And with that, I would like to pass over the word to Dirk, who will do a video here, who's our innovation manager in the FoodSHIFT project.
Hello, this is Dirk Wescher speaking from ZUS Metro, an SME in the south of the Netherlands. There I work together with Poppy Ira and Gustavo Aseniegas. on work package 2 of the FoodSHIFT project. Work package 2 is on basically supporting innovators in their efforts to establish a full-blown, successful and upward moving innovation case in their region. And we do this with 9 cities and in 9 cities, which are working with teams, specialized teams, in the so-called FoodSHIFT acceleration labs. This acceleration term means that there is a basic drive behind these innovations and that we support them to eventually take steps a little bit faster and earlier, and maybe also in one or the other direction they haven't thought of. It is, of course, all in the mission of the project to be low carbon, more plant-based, and more citizen-driven. So these are already aspects which are part of many innovations, but not necessarily all together. Also, in this respect, we support the innovators as much as possible, and especially if it's in their interest. Now, we do this in a structured way. This means that we have a couple of activities scheduled, programmed to go through with the innovators. We have examined their cases quite thoroughly. We've got these 90 innovation portraits, 10 per city and municipality. And we work closely with the teams, the FEL teams, these living lab teams in each city. And they are composed of 3 main, let's say, task holders or task experts. One is the leader of the FEL, of this living lab, which is more for organizational purposes, having an eye on the timing, on the planning, on the staff. Then we got a lab host or FEL host, and this lab host is basically make sure that this is very well embedded in the regional activities and in the city, close links to the municipality, visibility, and to make sure that they are behind it. And we got the lab assistant. Now the lab assistant has quite a linkage function, because this activity in this work package on maturing and combining and upscaling innovations, I explain a little bit more about this, is of course not staying separate from the rest of the project, but we have other work packages which are very important in terms of assessing the sustainability of basically supporting citizen participation, of developing data and tools for engaging with the food system participants and for better understanding the impacts. And all these work packages do their work, but are of course in need for having a certain link, having a certain close target. And this is what the assistant is about. This person ensures that existing work package activities are targeted towards these living labs and to the innovators. And the innovators in turn have a say. They can just select something from a kind of menu of support mechanisms in which we help them to further develop their case. And at the same time, we are, of course, aware that innovators are large experts in their own right. So we organize shared web learning experiences, webinars, living labs, basically joining to learn from each other. And this could be in the city itself, learning from and working together with partners, but this can be across different cities or also internationally. So I can just show you a brief graph just to illustrate, the mechanisms which I just described. Maybe you can see it better in this respect. Here you see the basically FEL organizational, living lab organizational unit in the middle with a host, the leader, the assistant, but also the steering committee and the stakeholder dimension. And on the right side, you see the different types of work packages. Above work package 1, there where we really work, where we have established in the first year the FELs. And on the bottom, this is the one where the close interaction with the innovators is happening via the living lab team and where we do most of the work. Well, and here you see on the left the 9 different municipalities and cities and living labs, which have all a focus area, a specialization. So which might be in education, which might be in community supported agriculture, or in developing a hub, etc., etc. So in these types of focus areas, the innovation cases are located, and the innovation management is something which is also carried out at this metro in my person. And I'm also in charge to make sure that work packages in an early phase take into account what an innovation is essential and that it is reflected in their work. So there's lots of integration across, and I think I can stop sharing here and just mention that we are now on the way working closely with the innovators in dedicated sessions where we identify key problems, thresholds, but also opportunities, and where we see which mechanisms, which support activities we can offer to them. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good workshop. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the bad connection and the troubles with the video sharing. We will send everybody the link to the video of Dirk, and you will watch the video afterwards. I am very sorry for that. I pass the word now to Beatrice, who is leading a part of the work we do related to the citizen engagement. And at the same time, she is as well assisting the lab Berlin, and she will reflect on the spirit of this project and the experience she is doing with this project. Thank you, Beatrice. So you share your screen with your slides. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Beatrice Walthall. I work at the Leibniz Center for Agricultural Landscape Research and currently in the FoodSHIFT project. As a lab assistant in the Berlin lab, and also focusing on food system governance and how governance plays a role in shaping food systems. But today I would like to focus on the role of civic engagement in shaping city region food systems, give you some insights in the spectrum of many-fold activities, and also what the Berlin lab is doing. Yes. So before I give you some insights into the case, I would like to share a common understanding. So based on from Adler and Goggin, a definition of civic engagement refers to the ways in which citizens participate in the life of a community in order to improve conditions for others or to help shape the community's future. And in the context of food systems, Christian already gave you some insights or a definition. I can only repeat that. That was not coordinated, but as you can see, we have a similar understanding. So the term food citizenship is defined as the practice of engaging in food-related behaviors that support rather than threaten the development of democratic, socially and economically just and environmentally sustainable food systems. And a quote I found on a website, FoodCitizenship.info. If you're interested in this, have a look at it. It gives you a lot of information on this topic. They say that the idea that people are simply consumers at the end of a food chain is being challenged. Our identity, our role in the food and farming sector, our relationship with our food and with nature are all being reassessed. By shifting the way we think of ourselves towards citizen mindset, where we are active participants in society, we unlock our ability to influence and steer the food system towards one that is fair and resilient for all, be it for people, animals, and the planet. And this is the understanding we depart with in FoodSHIFT and try to empower and mature and upscale many initiatives across. And you can see here in this illustration that there are many options how citizen engagement can take place. It can be simply by informing others, by consulting others, by inviting others, collaborating with others, or empowering others. And the spectrum is really colorful of what people can do. They're not just consumers in the food system, but they can participate in political life by founding food policy councils, for instance. They can participate in public life by getting engaged in urban gardens. They can participate in food system innovations, as you see across the FoodSHIFT community. They can demand a food system change or co-develop food strategies. They share practice-based knowledge on food and agriculture. They bring in new value systems compared to the market or the state, for instance, ethics of care, solidarity, collective responsibility, and so on. And they also develop local food supply chains and co-produce landscapes. And how does this look in practice? Here's one example from Berlin. There are many, many actions going on right now. I can only focus on a few, but I would like to start with the origins, which is that in Berlin, there's a very strong civic engagement for food policy change in general. Unlike other city regions participating in FoodSHIFT, Berlin is very strong in this respect. And they founded in 2016 the Berlin Food Policy Council, who demanded basically a food system change and to put food on the urban policy agenda. And key actions involve agenda setting, lobbying, knowledge building, networking, but also initiating projects. And key impact so far has been there is actually an increased recognition within the society, but also politicians, that food is an important urban issue and that needs to be addressed. So since 2016, the city responds to the activities and is increasingly recognizing food as a relevant issue. And they also acknowledge the critical role of civil society in shaping food policy. So they include them as well as relevant actors. And in this course, Berlin has begun to tackle this issue systematically, strategically, and across departments by developing a food strategy in a participatory process. And one part of this food strategy is a project or an activity around food hubs. And this is also the core innovation project that participates in FoodSHIFT. In German, Food Hub, we translated it to Lebensmittelpunkte, which is a play on word, which means the center of your life or food life center. In English, it's known as food hubs. And within the food hubs, we developed a prototype that consists or integrates three main pillars, which is collecting and distributing food, processing and cooking food, and engaging with others, being part of the neighborhood, providing space for encounters. And these pillars are not separate, but all linked to each other in the same space, in the same building, so they happen in parallel to each other. And this is part of the strength of the Food Hub, that they work as an integration engine of seemingly separate activities and mindsets to bring them back together. So here you can see the focus of the Food Hub is a socio-ecological innovation, particularly by rebuilding relations between people, the neighborhood, and the nature. And within the Food Hub in Berlin, the focus is of citizens setting up local food supply chains and co-producing landscapes. In particular, they do this by getting food from 10 community-supported agriculture projects so far, but the number is growing. Citizens share practice-based knowledge on food, how to prepare food, how to cook food, how to reduce food waste, but also on agriculture. What is sustainable agriculture? What is agroecology, which is a big focus as well. They bring in new value systems, as I mentioned, like the Food Hub wouldn't work if it's not with a sense of collective responsibility, solidarity, and so on. But they also empower others through low threshold activities and simple tools, like everyone is welcome and everybody can engage. If you don't feel like cooking, you can just participate as eating. If you don't feel comfortable talking so much, you can go in the kitchen and peel vegetables and connect with the vegetables. And like I mentioned, the Food Hub serves as a multifunctional space, providing linkages between seemingly separate areas. For instance, not everyone that participates in the food hub, that eats there, is a member of a community-supported agriculture. But the pickup of the shares happens at the same time while people eat. So people see there's something going on, someone picks up vegetables, what is it? And then we start conversations about it. What is community-supported agriculture? And by seeing this in real life, people get engaged in a different way than just hearing it from a friend or seeing it from a flyer. So yeah, the real life interactions is what drives the food hub in Berlin. Yeah, I could talk for for hours, but the time is limited. So I thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, you can also use the chat. And now I will give the word back to Dominique. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. I think it was great flavor about our activities. We started 2 years ago, and I think really what is which has been already achieved is really amazing. Yeah, so I see already a question. So we have almost 10 minutes for questions, and Christian, Beatrice will do their best to answer your questions. And I see a question there in the chat from Johanna Gizin. How do you reach the citizens for all these activities? I think this question is directed to you, Beatrice, because you reflected about the living experience of Berlin. So please.
Yeah, thank you, Johanna, for this really important question. I think I cannot give you one solution, but there are many, many answers. And that's also what we follow. We have many different ways of reaching out to citizens, depending whether they speak German or not, whether they are already sensitive to this topic or not. So it can be just flyers. It can be walking up to them on, sometimes there are food events in Berlin. So we walk up to them, talk to them, but it's also sometimes something simple like in the food hub, you can see the food products that are collected from the CSA and then distributed. They're standing on the street. Sometimes, especially in the times of COVID, we had to organize it on the street. And when pedestrians walk by, they asked, what is going on? What is this? So we get in really low-key conversations with them, but it is also through, right now we are in the process of developing a short movie on this topic, also the Food Hub, that will be screened in local movie theaters in Berlin and also linked to all the websites from the participating initiatives. So basically, we try to find as many possibilities to reach out to people and communicate with them, from advanced to really simple ways. And the more you have, the more you can reach the people, because just one way, one strategy is usually not enough, and it always excludes some people. Yeah, I hope this answered your question to some points.
Thank you very much. I think it was okay. And Johanna, thank you as well in the chat. Are you gathering data on this interaction, impacts, attraction on passerbys? It is a question from Danny from Zurich to you as well, or to Christian as well. I don't know. Maybe the role of monitoring and evaluation in our project could be a question for Christian. And how do you do that in Berlin? Because I know you do a lot, you personally, with José Luis, your colleague at SALF. So maybe first Christian and then Beatrice.
I think if it's related to the passerbys here, maybe it's actually related first to Beatrice, and maybe I could comment on the more overarching monitoring approach. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're fortunate that we have the capacities and the skills within the FoodSHIFT context to actually monitor the impacts. It's not a standard for all the active or projects we do, but within FoodSHIFT we do it. We follow a participatory action approach. So we also involve citizen research. They help us with gathering the data, but also they help us framing the questions, what we want to look at. So right now, we are doing a socio-ecological impact assessment, which is aligned with the agroecology criteria tool. That is the framework that helps us to see how far the activities actually contribute to a food system transformation or preserving the status quo. And that's what we're looking at. And for instance, we collect every week the numbers, also the kilograms, the amount of food that's been delivered to the food hub, that's been cooked and distributed. We also did for 9 weeks a participatory observation, asking the people how they feel, how did they hear about it, would they come back? Also just being part of it, like cooking ourselves and distributing to get a feel and a sense of how much effort is it, what do you learn, how do you connect with other people. And all the results will be released this year. And basically the key messages relate to the social impacts, but also the ecological impacts that a food hub can generate towards more sustainable and resilient food systems.
Yeah, and I can add that in the same way it's kind of done for the other city regions in the FoodSHIFT project, that specific indicators and monitoring measurements are currently being discussed with the other city regions on what is the most relevant ones for each specific city region. And this will also lead to a core set of indicators that will kind of be overarching for the whole FoodSHIFT project.
Yeah, so to reflect, our project is an innovation project action, but we inserted the development of tools to support all these processes of empowering citizens, for example, but as well monitoring and evaluate. And then based on the tools, with the cities, we experiment these tools, and at the end we will provide. So in the 2 years that are left for the project, we will produce some tools and put them available on the FoodSHIFT webpage on the Knowledge Hub. So yeah, that's our ambition for now. So maybe Christian, if you want to make last comment, and then we will switch to the next part of this webinar.
Yes, but thanks a lot to Beatrice for your presentation here on the citizen involvement and some very concrete examples from how you're doing in Berlin. Yeah, I think we can go on to the next session here.
Okay, thank you. So we will switch to the next session. The next session is more about the role of this pairing with other cities. And I have the pleasure to introduce as well the team supporting this process, which is together with Regine Berges. We are from Agrater in Germany, and we pool the efforts of the whole consortium to make all the results of the FoodSHIFT project scaling up and reaching out more cities and more people interested in that shift of our food system. And we are a team together with Sustain in the UK, represented here by Ben Reynolds and Stephanie Kennedy. And they support us, especially they are leading a task about this program with the fellows, so the new cities which are onboarded and more to come. And we will explain now how it works, or how we envision that it will work. Next, please. Next. Okay. What did I do wrong? It's not working? It's frozen. Okay, so I will try to share. Sorry for that. try. Okay. Okay, so our objectives as a team with Sustain and as other partners in this consortium, like as well the EAT Foundation and IFOAM, it is multiplying the impact of our project. For that, the objectives are transforming the urban food systems by pooling efforts among initiatives, by stretching citizens' engagement, by boosting innovators, and by engaging the municipalities. And we do that with another sub-objective, which is sharing experiences among city regions in Europe and beyond. And each of these, what we call in our FoodSHIFT language, an accelerator lab. It is a living lab, which is aiming to accelerate innovation. So there are 9, and they have the task, each of them, to facilitate the establishment of 3 more cities, which we call FoodSHIFT enabler labs. So facilitating, enabling innovation in their cities. And for doing this, we have released a call, an open call, to onboard these labs, these new living labs, and you are there. And we are very pleased to welcome you as official selected city regions for this activity. As Christian was telling us, we have 33 plus 1, but actually this morning our Greek partner just told me that we have 34 because one more city in Greece just joined this morning. So we have 34 official selected city regions which will join our project, plus 1 initiative located in Belgium, which is called Manger Demain, Eat Tomorrow, which is involved in several activities related to public canteens and procurement in Belgium. So you see on the map, we cover 12 different countries in Europe, 11 European member states plus Switzerland. And these 9 yellow cities are our FELs, so FoodSHIFT accelerator labs, and all the others are these cities which are now onboarded, these FoodSHIFT enabler labs. So yeah, so as you can see, for example, in Italy, we have some cities linked with Bari, which is already member of the FoodSHIFT project, Taranto and Tricase, but we have 3 more cities like Trento, linking with Wrocław in Poland, Bergamo, linking with Avignon in France, and Milan, linking with Barcelona. And the participant of Milan linking with Barcelona is with us today. So it is really a kind of network which is linking cities in different ways all over Europe, and we are very convinced that this linking will be very fruitful for everybody. So as team, we will support you to facilitate the knowledge transfer from each FEL to its FELs. It is a peer-to-peer learning approach, which is as a basis for this. And this should allow sharing lessons learned from your practical experiences with all food system innovations in your context. And then we will, our process is based on these 3 pillars. Last year, we had a lot of sharing experiences among the cities, these 9 cities. We did organize a lot of events among them, everything online, and 2 physical visits, one in Berlin and one in Barcelona. And for these two physical visits, we have produced videos which are published on our webpage on the Knowledge Hub. And then now we start with organizing webinars online between the existing 9 cities with these 34 new cities. And it will be the occasion to share experience, but as well to try to transfer knowledge which was acquired before by the FELs within the FoodSHIFT project, and sharing, for example, the tools we already developed and implemented. And then next year, but actually we should have started only next year, but we made this in advance. We organize broader outreach of new knowledge generated all along the project through public webinars. We already have made, I think, 6 or 7 under the lead of Sustain. So especially Stephanie is leading this public webinar series. And more activities to come, and Ben will talk about later about that. So this is the way we are organized, all these 9 cities. Now we have these new cities. At the beginning it was 3, now some cities have 4, even 5 for Athens. Around some topics, we share knowledge among cities, main partners and these new partners. And what we do is our physical events, distance events, video recording, flyers and report. Out of the videos and physical event, distance event, we produce as well event recording, fact sheet and news that we post on our Knowledge Hub and on the social media to a broader expansion of knowledge. So what is expected from this new network? It is to broaden the impact of our project. It is learning from the experiences you have made, all the cities together, and sharing the knowledge we gained in the first 2 years of the FoodSHIFT project. And our implementation principles are basically what is prevailing for knowledge exchange based on peer learning. It is bottom-up decided, it is participatory and voluntary. So we hope we will enjoy it. And to start concretely, to see how we will work, I pass the word to Regina, because she did pilot the establishment of what we call a learning trajectory with Berlin, and she will explain how it works.
So hello everyone, I hope now it will work that I show the presentation. So I dive in a bit deeper on what it will be about, that you can, the knowledge exchange is based on between FELs and FELs. Can you see the next slide? Yes, great. So what we do is we look into, the FELs consider what are their strengths, what are their experiences that they really think are worth to share, and all about the innovations they are developing. And on the other side, we are looking at what are the interests and the demands from the follower cities. So what are your needs that you would like to address together with the FELs? And third thing is also what are the possibilities and the potential of the FoodSHIFT consortium as a whole, but also of the FELs. And the idea is really to enable transformation that is based on mutual learning and that is on a common footing, so that it's really mutual and participatory and not like top-down way. So the key components of what we thought the sharing should be based on is 3 webinars that are focused on topics that the lab can provide and that you are interested in. So you will get a questionnaire soon where we collect the topics you are interested in to share with your FELs to develop this webinars. Then we are thinking of having visits, for one that you can all visit the FEL you belong to, but that the people from the FEL also visit you and have a look around how it's going on with your transformation of the food system. Yeah, but then there's a lot of additional possible activities that really depend on, yeah, what the FELs can offer and what you are interested in. So you can have regular meetings, like a brown bag meeting every second week or so. You can do further webinars. You can even visit more often if it's feasible. You can create joint projects or do joint publications, and the list can continue as long as your imagination is. And so I'm going to show you what we already started in the Berlin FEL, where Beatrice already talked about. So for 2022, we already thought of about 2 to 3 webinars, also the topics and the objectives based on what we can offer in Berlin and what we already know are the interests of the fellow labs. From each of the webinars, we think that it would be good to have a fact sheet to share beyond this exchange, so that other other projects can also enjoy the results. Then we already planned some visits. There will be probably 2 visits to Berlin. We have 4 follower labs. And so there are still some visits that have not been planned, which we will do now. And then, because we wanted to add some more and make it more really further exchange, we want to start with a small kickoff where we get to know each other. Then we will have, in between the webinars and the visits, we will have some check-ins to see how is the development, what are your questions, what are ours. And in the end, there will be 1 or more further check-ins and like a check-out also. So this is the idea how this trajectory could look like. And yeah, with this, I would pass on actually to Ben, I think, or back to Dominique. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Regina. I think it was very concrete because we did pilot the questionnaire, the short questionnaire we will send today to all the new cities. We did pilot this questionnaire for the Berlin new city, so these fellow cities which are paired with Berlin. And then we had a long discussion with the Berlin lab, all the members, and the most active members of the Berlin lab to establish this calendar and this way of entering the collaboration and this peer learning process with these 3 cities. Beside Berlin, we as well collaborate strongly with Almere. Almere is a city applying as well to become a FEL, but it was not possible to onboard them as well from the resource perspective, but as well from the language perspective, because all the cities paired with Berlin, all 4 cities, I think, are speaking German. They will work together in German, and with Almere, they will do extra visits and extra collaboration in English. And it is a way to onboard non-selected cities which did apply, and I will pass the word to Ben for a more overall explanation about this process. Thank you.
Dominique, I don't know, I shared the slides with you. I don't know if it's possible for you to share the slides, or if you would like me to, I can bring it up. But whilst the slides coming out, just, yeah, thank you, Dominique. I'm Ben Reynolds from Sustain in the UK with my colleague Stephanie, who's also with us. We're part of the FoodSHIFT Learning and Dissemination team. So you've heard about the plans for support and peer learning between the FELs and the FALs. I should probably say as well that we use the term FELs and fellows interchangeably. FELs, it's a sort of FoodSHIFT jargon. It makes sense to us, but probably less so to the wider world. So Beatrice came up with a great suggestion of fellows, and that sounds really nice. We are fellows. It's peer-to-peer learning. So you are fellows, but we might use the term FELs as well. So just to avoid confusion there. So yeah, we've heard about that support and interaction between the FEL and FAL peer learning. I wanted to sort of look a little bit beyond that, and how we can tap into cross-cutting learning across FoodSHIFT. So we heard from Dirk, Christian and Beatrice earlier about that focus in FoodSHIFT on innovation, on citizen-driven approaches and partnership approaches to food governance, as well as interest across the cities and the city regions in themes from procurement, urban and community food growing, sourcing, and supporting local farmers, circular food enterprises, and much more. And many of these are the themes of the public webinars that we've been running over the last couple of years, but equally we've got planned for the coming year. And those will feature some of the 9 FALs. You know, we may well invite some FELs to join in as well once we kind of learn more about the work that you guys are doing. But there are opportunities for more learning between the FELs on these topics beyond the sort of 9 bubbles that you're in, and we're still exploring with existing FoodSHIFT partners, and we'd like to explore further with you actually what does that look like. So there's some limited capacity for this. We can't promise the world, but we really want to see what's going to be most useful, and we want to come back with to the FELs with some proposals around this. But here are some of the ideas that we're looking at. So this could be more presentations via webinars. So perhaps webinars between the FELs and the FoodSHIFT partners to, as I said, to kind of present some of the work that's happening in those 9 bubbles and work that's coming out of or experiences from the FELs and fellows. Or we could be doing some more sort of breakfast style meetings, as Regina was saying, about opportunities to meet and discuss. So less formal and more about, and less sort of less planned without the agenda. One of our main proposals is to set up an email group onto which the FELs and other FoodSHIFT partners could post questions and information about new work that they're doing. For those cities on the call from the UK, you'll be familiar with a similar Rise Up group, which is run for UK food partnerships. And we're proposing to set up one linked to FoodSHIFT, maybe sort of FoodSHIFT Plus. And we plan to send something around in the next fortnight to FELs and other FoodSHIFT partners. But we wanted to check first, before we set it up, A, is this going to be useful? Is it going to be used? And I suppose B, how to make it most useful. So on this last point, I wanted to flag that we've had a lot of interest from other cities to become FELs, if we can move the slides on. So there was actually very little promotion of the opportunity to become a FEL, to become a fellow. This was something that we put out via the newsletter. We did a few sort of tweets about it and put out to a couple of networks, but we found almost immediately there was a lot of interest coming back, and a lot of, actually the bulk of the promotion was done via the FALs within their networks, within their countries. And we realized quickly that we're getting quite a lot of interest, and we sort of wanted to manage expectation. Is it possible to move the slide on, please? So in a second, you'll see a list of some of the cities that weren't successful in applying, and they won't be part of those FEL to FAL bubbles. But we're asking ourselves whether there's anything beyond the webinars, beyond the website, beyond the newsletter that we might engage them with. Here's a list of some of the cities. So there's a couple on there that I think you know, some of the cities are trying to work out a relationship with, even if it's not as formal. And we're interested in saying, okay, well, are there any other things from FoodSHIFT that we can, any other ways in which we can bring these guys into the loop? Maybe not quite as formally as the FELs, but so we can develop some kind of relationship, some kind of learning relationship. So could these guys be part of that email group? I'm going to post a Mentimeter question in a second to get your feedback on this. But like I said, we're thinking of a few options. But indeed, there are other cities taking a partnership approach to shifting the food system in their local areas, who may benefit and can help with useful ideas by being on this email group beyond this list. This may be of interest to some of the other members. We know it is of interest to some of the other members of the UK Sustainable Food Places Network, or indeed the German-speaking network of food policy councils. Or perhaps we could be opening it up to networks of cities working on food beyond that, so C40 or the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, for instance. But there are questions, would opening it up too broadly dilute its usefulness? Would this be a unique, would this be uniquely for places with a food partnership or trying to set one up? These are questions we still need to answer. So we're not going to rush into opening it out, but like I said, these are questions we want to come back to later in order that we get the right balance of a group with enough of a similar identity, large enough there's a useful exchange of ideas, but not too large that people end up unsubscribing and being inundated with emails. We all get enough emails. So I'm going to wrap up, but I wanted to open the floor to any questions for any of the presentations you've heard. But before doing so, I wanted to point you out to this Mentimeter, where I'm going to be posting, if you're able to have a little look at these questions and answer them, that would be fantastic. And like I said, we also need to speak to other FoodSHIFT partners to get their views on some of these options as well, so it'll be a collective decision. Whilst you're filling this in, and before we take any questions, Dominique, are there any other points that you wanted to add? We can move on to the next slide as well.
It's perfect. Yes.
So yeah, so if there's any, so we lost the last slide, it doesn't matter. The last slide just said questions. But yeah, if there are any questions coming through, do post them in the Q&A or indeed on the chat box. I know we've got about 6 minutes left. It's never a problem to finish a meeting early. I'm sure lots of people have got other things to get onto.
I think there is a proposition made in the chat to share our tools through another platform like Discourse or Slack. I think it is as well some idea coming out from our partners in the consortium. And yes, for sure we will examine through which way we can easily communicate among all the FELs and us. So thank you, Gail, for this proposition. You're right. Is there, oh, I see in the Q&A. Oh, Sophie from Plymouth. Just a question about how and when new FELs can be best promote and publicize involvement in the FoodSHIFT. So you can, you want to answer, Ben, please.
I think, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what, actually see what Christian says. Sorry, I'm sort of passing the buck. Personally, I think we've got back to all the applicants. So we've got back to the unsuccessful applicants to say, unfortunately, they cannot be part of, they weren't a chosen city. And we've got back to obviously to all the successful ones as well. So I think, this is, I think it's fine probably to start promoting it as of now. The only thought that crosses my mind would be about making some announcement on the FoodSHIFT website, now that we have the cities confirmed, as Dominic said. We've gone right up to the wire with some places confirming, well, just today from the sounds of the city linked to Athens. So, we want to be sort of fairly clear on that sort of final list before we start sort of publicising it. So I think
it was today the final day, so it
right.
is from today. And we do not onboard new. I think it is as well some decision we have to take some time at some time point. So yeah, so from today on, I would say we can communicate. And what is coming next is this short questionnaire. On this short questionnaire, we ask as well you to share with us some basic information that we can put on our webpage, and some pictures would be very welcome in order to set up with Sarah, which is in Barcelona, our partner at IAC, for the communication of our project. Yeah, we will set up with her this webpage, and each of have a kind of corner to publicize their presence in our project with some keywords about what is going on in the cities. So, yeah, I think time for closing. I don't know, Christian, maybe you want to close. I thank everybody as well, Ben, Stephanie, Regine, Luke, Luke from Copenhagen, who is the coordinator of our project. So thank you, everybody. And Dirk as well. Dirk recorded this video, and it was not possible to display the video today, but we will make it running with a recording of this event that we will send a link to everybody participating to this event, and to every fellow city which could not attend this event. And please share this link with everybody in your cities who has interest in this exchange program. And yeah, so, and welcome in our project. Please, Christian.
Yes, and thanks a lot, of course, also to you, Dominique, for organizing this whole onboarding, and to the entire Work Package 5 team that has been doing an amazing job throughout the FoodSHIFT project with sharing knowledge between the FELs, and now also between the FELs and FELs. So thanks a lot for your great contribution. And then really, I'm very happy to welcome all of you on board the FoodSHIFT project, all the fellow city regions. Looking forward to getting to know you and to collaborate with you on the FoodSHIFT project and transforming the European food system. So thanks a lot for joining also today.